Easy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Dr. Crane and I both repping our teams today. If you're watching on the stream, the Brisbane Broncos playing in the grand final.
That is correct.
This weekend.
Yep, the grand final against the Melbourne Storm.
I love it. I will not be up to watch it at 3 in the morning.
3:05 is first kick. Pregame starts at 2:00 in the morning. I'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I will not be up for that, but wishing them the best. I got my Tigers on today. MLB playoffs start this afternoon. Tigers facing the Devil Magic Cleveland Guardians.
I still can't believe that.
Tarek Skubal's on the mound. That's the only hope that I have. We'll talk a little MLB postseason at the end of the show, give some World Series predictions. But last night we had the Monday Night Football doubleheader, and it lived up to what's the opposite of hype. It lived up to the disappointment that I was expecting. Neither of those games was very good. The Dolphins did get their first win of the season, and then in the other game, the Bengals are going to be really, really bad without Joe Burrow. I think that's pretty clear at this point.
That 15-1 that I had, or 15-2, whatever it was, that's out the door.
Well, yeah, they're already at 2, so there you go. You're out of losses. You got to win out if you're the Bengals to get to Nick's prediction. The Vikings are also they're getting close to.
We're 2-2. Hey,
right.
Just saying,
they're getting close to their 4 wins that they need to surpass your expectations for them. The Broncos. I don't think the Broncos are that good. Like Bo Nix threw another bad pick down in the red zone yesterday, but the Bengals are going to be a team that probably doesn't win many games until Joe Burrow is back in the fold in December or whenever he is able to get healthy.
It's easy for the national media to just look at the Broncos and say, oh, wow, they're pretty good under Sean Payton. They can really move the ball well. Well, it's obvious because Cincinnati can't move the ball at all.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah, 28-3 the final in that game. Dolphins, Jets, tough for Tyreek Hill. That was an ugly scene, one of those injuries that you don't want to see the replay of. Looks like he dislocated his knee, tore his ACL, so he is out for the season. Such a strange reaction, though, from him. Like, usually it's guys, they got the towel over their head, they got the thumbs up. Tyreek Hill looked genuinely happy as he was leaving the field. It was very... I know he was asking out of Miami. I don't want to think that maybe he was happy that was his last time playing for the Dolphins, but that was the vibe that I got seeing him clapping and smiling as he walked off the field.
Didn't he scream yes?
Was carted off the field. Yeah, that's what it looked like. It looked like he was like thrilled that he's like, hey, I get my paychecks and I don't have to play anymore.
That's crazy to think about. I mean, we were talking before the show. I was still in the camp. If he was healthy, he'd be traded back to the Chiefs, because like this Miami team, if they didn't turn it around in the next couple of weeks, they'd probably start offloading players. So something to look at.
Right.
Not anymore.
That is a trade chip that is now out the window for the Dolphins, but the Dolphins are in the win column. They got win number 1. There are now just 3 teams that are winless in the NFL. I have a question. Who is the worst one? And I know we're biased around here about how bad the Titans are, but watching the Jets last night, Jets are pretty bad too. And the Saints, we've talked about the Saints. They're pretty bad too. They've been competitive in some of their games, more than I thought they would be. Yeah. But we got 3-0-4 teams. Which one's the worst right now?
I'm all in on the Saints being the worst team right now in the NFL. I think the Saints, when you go draft a guy in the second round in Tyler Shaw and you're starting Spencer Rattler, you're not sitting him to learn. You're sitting him because you don't know what you have as a future, and their defense is just gone. They have nobody in the secondary to really help them out. And my buddy Trey, I bless your heart, buddy, because they're just bad. The Saints are bad on all levels.
Yeah, sorry to Adam Vingan, too, a resident Saints fan around here. But he knew they were going to be bad before the season. I believe he sent me, when they announced Spencer Rattler as their starter, he sent me 5 vomit emojis to display his thoughts on that. And honestly, I don't think Rattler's been quite as bad as maybe you expected him to be, but yeah, it hasn't been good. And right now, 3-0-4 teams. Miami improves to 1-3. Cleveland still has a win. And then you've got Baltimore in there with Vegas, Carolina, and the Giants. One of these things is not like the other. And Houston as well is also 1-3. Yeah. But the Titans, Jets, Saints, all 0-4. If I had to pick the worst team right now, I think I still would go Saints. It's close, though. The Titans have the last 2 weeks. Like, if you would ask me at 0-2, would the Titans be 0-4? I think I would have said no. I think I would have said that they would have found a way to win one of these two divisional games,
Right.
but they have gotten blown out in both of them. I think the Titans, there's a chance they might be the worst of those 3 0-4 teams.
Yeah, it's getting to that point. Obviously, maybe JC Latham comes back this week. We'll see what happens. I think that opens up a new timetable to see what you can get with the production of the offensive line. But as for right now, seeing what you can on film and paper, it's bad. Like it might be a 1A, 1B type thing for worst team out there.
Well, and let's not let the Jets off the hook either. The Jets aren't
no.
very good.
Yeah.
The Jets, they lead the league in penalties now. Yes, Titans fans out there, you no longer lead the league in penalties. The Jets, who led the league in penalties last year as well. So Aaron Glenn has gotten off to a tough start with his New York Jets. Skyler says on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Titans are the worst team in the league just due to all the penalties. Again, guess what? Aaron Glenn has more. Any positive play they get is called back. Kellen Moore and Aaron Glenn are better coaches than Callahan, makes the Titans worse. I don't know if you can say that right now. Like Callahan, yes, you have more proven that he hasn't been good because he's 21 games in instead of 4. But Kellen Moore and Aaron Glenn, you're 0-4 as head coaches. Like, I don't know if you can make the distinction between they're just all bad right now.
Yeah, they are all bad in every facet of the game. Like, I would give Aaron Glenn a little bit of some slack just because he's the first year guy in New York. But as for Brian Callahan and everyone else now.
Right. Kellen Moore and Aaron Glenn have a much longer leash to prove that they can coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
But to say that they're better coaches than Brian Callahan right now, maybe it ends up being true, but they're winless as NFL head coaches. Yeah. So I don't know if you can make that assumption right now. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, I'll answer your question with a question. Out of those teams, which has put up a nothing burger against another winless team? It's a good point. It's a very good point. That he says the Titans are the worst. Robert makes a good point. You know that Jarvis Brownlee is hating his life right now from the Titans to the Jets.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he got to play at primetime games. I mean, it's yeah, he was a part of a team on a primetime game. Let's put it that way.
I said when I asked this question that there's going to be like Titans fans obviously having a bias, like a reverse bias even of thinking that your team is the worst. Trust me, it's just as bad out there. Like the Titans are really bad. And I think there is a good argument that they are the worst out of these 3 teams. But the Jets and Saints aren't very good either. Like it's not like there's a huge gap. So Taylor in Bellevue says, how can you say we're not the worst team in the league? We didn't score a point. Isn't this what everyone hopes that their local sports talk radio is talking about?
Yep.
Whether their team is the worst 0-4 team in the league on September 30th.
I mean, you're closer to the bottom than the top. Might as well, right?
I mean, it's not like you could argue, are they the best 0-4 team in the league? And I would say no.
Probably not.
But even worse for Titans fans last night, Nick Folk hits a 58-yard field goal.
Mr. Consistent.
Like, I mean,
you don't have to be in shape to kick a field goal. If your leg's strong enough, just put it through the uprights.
Yeah, that didn't make me feel good watching that. I'm like, man, thought we gave up on Nick Folk because he couldn't kick long field goals. He hit from 58. He hit from 50 after Joey Sly missed from 41 and 43 earlier this week.
I'm sure Titans fans are thinking, man, if we could only have Nick Folk back. Because yesterday, it was funny. John McClain put it in my little mashup. He goes, Joey wide right. I mean, what happened to Joey Sly, man?
Yeah, made his first 10. Now he's missed 4 straight. 2 are from 60 plus. So you have to give a little bit of a caveat there. But yes, he's missed 4 in a row. It's tough. It's tough. And I saw Ryan Stonehouse was making a little bit of fun out of it. He said, I thought he couldn't kick the long ones. And
oh boy,
58 yards. Good for Nick Folk. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I promise we're not going to spend the entire show on how bad is this team and are they the worst of the 0-4 teams. But I did want to point out, late December, Titans Saints. Could that game be for the top pick? We'll talk about it coming up. Also, Tajay Spears' practice window is going to open up. Could that at least help the Titans in a key aspect of their offense? We'll talk about it later. College football talk. We'll preview the MLB playoffs, all coming up on the show. Nick Frazier is in with us today. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly. We are off and running on this Tuesday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you on this Tuesday. Talking some Titans in this first hour. We'll have some college football talk as we enter October tomorrow. Also, the MLB playoffs getting going later this afternoon. I'm repping my Tigers. Got to win game one. Scooble on the mound today. Right after the show, I will be listening to the radio call on my way home. So excited for that. We were just talking about Monday Night Football. The Jets falling to 0-4. So now there are now 3 0-4 teams. And it is hilarious how when the team is bad, the text line gets mad at you for saying they're not the worst. It's like saying that they may not be the worst team in the league is like a crime right now. They're bad. They're a bottom 3 team in the league. There's no question about it. Probably bottom 2. I mean, the Saints did put up some points on the Bills this week. We'll give them credit for that. But yeah, it's pretty bad. And I thought it was funny, Parker, the tweet that you just put out of who's going to have the number 1 pick in the 2026 draft, Titans or Saints. Not exactly the question I'm asking here, but
it's only September.
Right. It's September 30th, so we can't get that far ahead of ourselves.
It's still valid.
But I'm asking the question, like, could that game in December basically be like have you seen the South Park episode where they're playing baseball and all the kids just want to play video games, so they're both trying to lose?
Yes.
It's like, no, we're going to lose harder than you. There's no way that we win. It's like, that's going to be the Titans and Saints in December of like, who can just clinch the number 1 seed, the number 1, not the number 1 seed, the number 1 pick. And for the Saints, either draft their quarterback, or for the Titans, hopefully there's a quarterback there that somebody's willing to pay king's ransom to come up and get.
Yeah, in this quarterback draft class, it's starting to look a little bleak. A little bit. I don't know. For that top overall pick. Give or take.
Lenore Sellers, and we went through, there was an article this past week of, hey, if you were going to take a quarterback, because they've all kind of struggled this year, if you were going to take one, who would it be? And Sellers was the one that everybody said. And it makes sense because, the production maybe hasn't been exactly what you wanted from Sellers this year, but he's still big. He's still fast. He's still got the big arm. He's elusive. Like, I think there's going to be somebody worth taking. This isn't the Kenny Pickett draft.
That was bad.
So I would love if the Titans get the number 1 pick, trade back 7 or 8, and you either can get one of the top receivers, one of the top edge rushers, and load up on top 100 picks for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think if they can also offload some veterans already on the team, that'd be great too. I mean, I don't think Titans offload L'Jarius Sneed back to the Chiefs, but that'd be something to look into.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to start visiting those options at former players' previous paths and teams that are contending for Super Bowls. I just think that's the right realm to look at. I mean, we talked about Jeffrey Simmons before the show. Like, that might be an option,
right?
So he's playing out of his mind the last couple weeks.
Simmons is your biggest trade chip. If you're looking to just rip it down to the studs, Simmons needs to go at the deadline. If you can get somebody willing to give you what you think he's worth. Lenny on the text line. I love the overreaction from fans out there. Lenny, we might have to go get a quarterback in the draft next year too, because our quarterback is ass. No. He had a bad game on Sunday, for sure. But can we stop with the overreaction of Cam Ward? Like, he is a rookie. He just played his 4th game in the NFL. It takes time to develop, and you've seen the flashes of why he was picked number 1. Like, he is doing the things that you hope to see. It hasn't been consistent enough, and you need him to play a little bit more within the offense, move the chains, not get caught in 3rd and longs. But overall, I think you see why he was the number 1 overall pick. You just need to see that more on a regular basis that leads to winning.
Yeah, and you look at the offensive line, I feel like that's the problems everybody looks at when you look at a rookie quarterback. And Cam Ward just hasn't had the time to really throw. And nonetheless, his decision-making hasn't been fully there when you don't have time to throw. So it's like a double-edged sword for him in a roundabout way. But if you get J.C. Latham back this week, I think the Titans have a good chance of winning 1 game against the Cardinals.
Bringing back J.C. Latham is going to be massive for this team. And I didn't think the protection was all that horrible on Sunday, actually.
Really?
Like, relatively. Like
Okay.
I will preface that relatively to what we've seen for the past few years, what we had seen in Denver and against the Rams. I thought overall Cam Ward had a little bit more time. But he looked off
Yeah.
on Sunday. The first couple plays were really good too. And that was what was frustrating was he came out and got off to a hot start. He moved the chains to Calvin Ridley on a quick out. And then he made one of his signature move to the right, throw it back left, hit Alec Iamaner, and you're in business. That not saying this changes the complete outcome of the game, but the hit from Azeez Al-Shire, like that was a big play. If you can extend that drive, get into the red zone, and maybe put a touchdown on the board, that changes everything in that game. From there on out, the Titans just couldn't move the ball. But Lenny and Trey need to meet up. Maybe we need to set up a friendship here because they both hate Cam Ward. Lenny says, "Can you tell me which game he had a good game? Because I haven't seen it yet. You ripped on Levis for the same stuff. He had a worse offensive line." I mean, Levis was doing some of the stuff Cam Ward did decision-making wise, but doing it in the wrong spots.
Yeah.
Like Cam Ward has to be better at playing within the rhythm of the offense, and Levis did too. But when Cam Ward has gotten off script, he's done the right things for the most part. Will Levis did not.
No.
And for good games for Cam Ward, like I thought he played well against Denver.
Mm-hmm.
There were like 80 drops in that game. I thought in the Rams game, it was up and down, but outside of not taking care of the ball in the fumble, he had them in that game late. And honestly, after the pick six against the Colts, he was pretty good. But obviously you can't remove the bad plays, but there's been stretches where you feel good about it, but he's a rookie and he doesn't have much going on around him. Like that's the big thing is that they need to build around him. You've seen that he can be good. You've just got to give him the weapons and the protection and the coach who can help him get to his full potential.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that early with Alec Iamaner and Cam Ward, just because that the two rookies are building that chemistry, and that's something. I wouldn't say rare, but it's a good thing to have, and maybe it is rare. I don't know. When you look back and you see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, obviously that LSU team was just a spectacle to watch in college football. But when you paired them up in the NFL, it took it to a whole nother level. Obviously, Cam Ward and Alec didn't play together in college, but there is a rapport that's building there, and I'm not saying phase Calvin Ridley out of the equation, but don't get me wrong, Calvin Ridley had a good game this past Sunday. It's just I don't know if he's the long-term answer with that, like for next season.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley is not going to be part of the long-term solution for this team.
Correct.
I think Alec Iamaner is. You hope Chim DK is, but you need that number one guy to be Cam Ward's go-to. And you mentioned Jamar Chase. I know that's like Jamar Chase is a generational wide receiver talent, and it's not like those guys grow on trees. You have to be in position to take them. And it's also like if Jordan Tyson is the big guy out of Arizona State this year, it's like if you're picking third, yeah, you'd like to take him, but are the picks you could get to trade down more worth it? That's the question. But yes, lots and lots that needs to go get better around Cam Ward. You can't make judgments on Cam Ward off of 4 games.
No.
Like, I think there's been good, there's been bad. Let's see what we get throughout the rest of the season. We need to see growth. I think that's the biggest thing. So far, it's kind of felt flatline, right? Like, I don't think we've seen a whole lot of I'm waiting for the breakout game where it looks like he's in control and he's playing and the offense isn't getting stuck, I guess is the word I'm looking for. That seems to be continual
rut.
Right. They get across midfield and they can't seem to get past that wall. I want to see a game where Cam Ward is able to move the ball consistently. They may not win the game, but where it doesn't feel like the offense is stuck in the mud every single time they get the ball.
Yeah, and you may agree or disagree with what I'm about to say. You look at those turnovers, especially in the Colts game and the Houston game this past weekend. To me, it just feels like he hasn't responded well after that, Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that go into that too.
Right.
Like, again, losing his right tackle right off the bat has been tough because I think he's now kind of afraid to hold the ball for too long.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been some times where he does have a clean pocket and you see him get a little happy feet back there. And then also, I just think the coaching hasn't been good. Like the play calling with Bo Hardigree, like there wasn't any like egregiously bad play calling outside of the trick plays. And again, trick plays are always hindsight's always 2020 on those
Right.
because it's like if they work, you're a genius, but when they don't work, you're an idiot. Like there's no in between. If a trick play works, it's like, oh my God, Bo Hardigree's in his bag. Like he
the next Ben Johnson.
Right. It's like he's dug up all these plays and he knew exactly when to call it. And when it doesn't work, it's like, why would you call a trick play in that spot? And that's where we are because obviously neither of the trick plays he called on Sunday worked.
You think in a roundabout way, Brian Callahan deep down is like chuckling a little bit. They didn't score any points, but when I'm calling plays, we do score points.
Maybe in the back of his mind,
yeah.
Maybe there's a little bit of like, you guys wanted me to give up play calling. Now you got to live with it. But I think for the most part, it all falls on him in the end, no matter who's calling the plays.
Yeah.
So 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, we got off on a little bit of a tangent there on Cam Ward. But we get Trey calling in every day, and maybe he'll call in again talking about when Cam Ward's going to get demoted and how he's not a good quarterback. Guys, he's a rookie who's played 4 games in the NFL. You've had the moments that you see like, yeah, he can be a quarterback in this league. And if you follow any of the guys who know football on Twitter, they're all saying good things about Cam Ward. Like this is a guy the Titans can build around. They've got to build around him. Like you got to give him protection. You got to give him weapons, and the coaching has to be able to develop him into the guy he can be. But if you're looking for problems with this team for the future, Cam Ward is not one of them.
Nope.
615-737-1025. Maybe some help coming for the Titans this week. Brian Callahan said yesterday that Tajay Spears going to have his practice window opened, and we will see if he is out on the field on Sunday. Big part of the Titans offense, I think that he could help. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. That was Brian Callahan yesterday announcing that the Titans are going to open the practice window for Tajay Spears as he comes off of IR with his high ankle sprain. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up 102.5 The Game. And I think this is a big deal. I mean, as much of a big deal as it can be for a team that's 0-4, bringing back a guy who can help in the screen game because holy crap, the screen game has been horrible this year. Every time they run a screen, it seems to go backwards. And then you have a couple of them, like on Sunday, where Tony Pollard actually found a little seam, got through, got a first down, and a penalty gets called. And it's like, man, the biggest stray that's ever been thrown was Brian Callahan last week saying that Randy Jordan is in charge of the screens because they have been atrocious this season. Wide receiver screens, running back screens, all of them have been awful this year. Maybe Tajay Spears, who's the pass catching back out of the backfield, can start to help with that. Obviously, your offensive line has to stop getting called for all the penalties, but at the very least, you feel like you have a dynamic guy in the screen game coming back.
Between illegal formation and holding calls, I think I've seen enough out of that. And when it comes to the screen game, you got too many cooks in the kitchen. For the Titans, you got to just designate to one person calling plays. I get they may help out here and there, but the screen game, you're right, Jake, has been abysmal. If Tajay Spears comes back, I don't think he'll be an immediate factor on this offense, but it honestly, to me, it all dictates if J.C. Latham is back and Tajay Spears are back at the same time, because then that means Tajay probably doesn't have to give a little chip block on the edge and then come out wide and get the little screen.
Right.
Something like that. Because I just don't think, don't get me wrong, I don't think Tajay Spears is a strong enough back to get a chip block in there and then go turn and catch a pass. I just think if he does that, it'd throw him off his path. And then the defense is already down on him.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in Denver, one of those sacks that knocked the Titans out of field goal range, the back-to-back ones from Cam Ward, where Tony Pollard was supposed to get a little chip and then release, and he just couldn't get out. Like, the Titans need help everywhere, but mostly they need help on the offensive line. So J.C. Latham coming back, you get Tajay Spears back, you have the full complement of weapons for Cam Ward. Maybe that is something that can start to get this offense going, because they keep trying to call screens and none of them have worked this year. And I think that could maybe just give the Titans another option if Tajay Spears can be a factor in that part of the game.
And also, too, I mentioned this way back in the spring when I was on the radio with you, and it was to me the predictability of play calling. Obviously, we've gotten to the point now where this play calling is becoming too conservative to the point where you know what's going to come next. And I think when you bring Tajay Spears back from injury and you put him in the game and people are kind of already knowing what you're going to do with him, you got to have some factor of the unknown. And with this Titans team, the only unknown you have is the offensive line going to block or not? And I know that sounds terrible to say, but at the same time, that's what it is. And
yeah,
if you can get some small production out of Tajay Spears, I'm not saying being the X factor that's going to score 2 touchdowns in the passing game, but just enough to where you can at least get, some confidence out of the offense.
Yeah, and also just take a little bit off Tony Pollard's shoulders too, because Tony, I know the numbers haven't been fantastic for Tony Pollard this year. They've been okay, but Sunday he had a couple of really good runs. And if you can use him a little bit more focused instead of, hey, Tony, you've got to be on the field for 95% of snaps and 90% of our run plays are going to you. Like, that's basically what it's been. Just take a little bit off of Tony Pollard. That might make him more effective as you get later into games. And I think this, getting Tajay Spears back, I understand Tajay, in terms of where he was drafted, has kind of been a disappointment as a draft pick. But I do think that he could end up unlocking a couple things with this offense, the screen game, and I think making the run game more effective overall, having that change of pace back there with Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about Pollard. He's been very productive the last couple of weeks. I think it's still 3.8 yards on average the first 4 games, but last week 4.6 yards, had 64 yards on the ground for 14 carries. That's pretty darn good for a running back, especially at his age. So you're right. If you can bring Spears back and kind of balance out the run game, keep your guys healthy. Like we talked about this before the season. To me, this roster was top heavy with veterans to the point where if you dictate a lot on your veterans, putting too much on them, then you don't have any depth. That's where the concern comes to factor. And you're seeing it right now with Tajay Spears not playing.
Right. I can't imagine that Tony Pollard, if he was asked to take this workload on the whole season that he was going to get through the whole season.
Yeah.
Like Tony Pollard's a pretty healthy guy. Like he's been a good at not. I mean, he had the one injury in Dallas that knocked him out for most of the year, but for the most part, he's been reliable out there. But he's getting a little further up there in age, and it's like you can't rely on him to carry the ball as many times as he has been.
And I'm also intrigued to see if the Titans still incorporate Julius Chestnut in some regard, because I know Khalil Mullins has been injured. We get all that, but you look at Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. To me, they're a little bit similar backs. I mean, they're not beefy like Derrick Henry, but if you go, use Julius Chestnut in some run game factors in the red zone, if it's third and short, stuff like that, I think he'd still be a useful back. And sure, the predictability is a little bit more predictable, but still, I think it'd be a huge factor to have on the offense.
Yeah, excited to hopefully get Tajay Spears back in the fold. We will see. The practice window is being open, but that is a 21-day practice window. So he's got 3 weeks to try and come back. But based on what we've heard, Teron Davenport's told us last week that Spears was out there on a side field getting some work in. I think hopefully he'll be ready. I mean, he sprained his ankle close to 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
It was the first preseason game, which was what, like second week of August?
August the
9th?
9th. Yep.
So, yeah, by the time game day rolls around, it'll be almost 2 months. I would think he would be back, but obviously we'll have to see what he's able to do in practice this week. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines.
Oh boy.
We were talking about Trey in the last segment.
Prepare yourselves.
Prepare
yourselves.
Trey has been on the Cam Ward hate #1 list. Let's go to Trey on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey, good morning.
Good.
Give your
Good
response.
morning. How y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you, Trey?
I'm good. I just wanted to say, man, I'm hard on Cam Ward because I want him to succeed, in this very critical. This is a critical situation for a human to be in. These opportunities don't come a dime a dozen, and I hope that he eventually, excels in his, opportunities to be a successful quarterback. And I hope it's here in Nashville, but he has a lot to do. He has a lot of work to complete, and I hope he does well, and I just hope he does well. I hope he, become the #1 quarterback for our team. I hope that the fans will come back into the stadium to see him. I hope that he's able to throw a few more touchdowns, just throw a few touchdowns, bro, make us feel good about the situation that we're in, and we'll be better. And y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Trey. Just throw a few touchdowns.
Hey, if he's got the line to do it, sure.
I mean, Cam Ward speaks, tomorrow? Maybe one of the reporters out there should just be like, Cam, have you considered throwing a few more touchdownes?
Like 2 or 3.
Yeah, just see what happens.
Keep you in the game for a little bit.
615-737-1025. Appreciate the call, Trey. We have made you the face of the anti-Cam Ward movement, and maybe that's not fair. So appreciate you calling in and getting
it's fair.
Getting to give your opinion on Cam Ward through 4 games. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. How can the Titans offense become more explosive? There just has not been a whole lot of plays downfield. We finally saw the Titans get one down there to Elikiah Manor back on Sunday. I believe that was their first completion beyond 25 yards. Does that sound right?
That sounds accurate.
At least 25 air yards down the field.
Yeah.
That sounds right to me. We can maybe check on that in the break. How can the Titans become a more explosive offense? Because right now, it feels like if they don't matriculate the ball down the field, they're not going to score, and they don't have the talent to have long, sustained drives right now. How can they find more explosive plays? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, Nick Frazier, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. That was Brian Callahan yesterday responding to Cam Ward's viral comments that I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times at this point. We ass. They've made T-shirts, by the way. They are out there being sold. If you want a Titans We Ass T-shirt, you can go get that.
I feel like that's a high dollar T-shirt.
I saw it on maybe it was Facebook yesterday. I don't go on Facebook very often, but I think I saw it.
Did Adam Vingan create these? Because I think he was the one that started the
yes,
idea.
Yeah, he did put that out there that they should sell T-shirts, but they are available. I did see them advertised. So if you want one for the rest of the year, maybe next year.
I feel like that's something I shouldn't try to look up.
I would say keep that off the work Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we'll just wait. Yep. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So those are out there. Brian Callahan responding saying he likes it. I liked it too from Cam Ward. It's like, yeah, respectfully, they're not mid anymore. He said about as well as you possibly could.
Yeah.
You get shut out in that game. You don't go into the red zone. They've been bad offensively. And I said heading into the break that this team is not talented enough and not consistent enough to sustain drives. You might do it every once in a while. We've seen some touchdown drives where they've moved the ball down the field, but this team just does not have the ability to be consistent right now and have a 10 to 12 play drive 3 times during a game and keep yourself in it. You need some explosive plays. You thought maybe they would come from Calvin Ridley this year. So far, has Calvin Ridley caught a pass longer than like 20 yards downfield? Like he had the one long one against the Colts that was just like kind of a long hitch route right at the sticks.
Yeah, I don't think he's hit or caught anything over 20 yards that I can think
He's
of.
had a couple like crossing routes over the middle, but like there hasn't been anything. I don't think I've seen this year. And again, I understand. By the way, do want to mention the text line. We're having trouble with it right now, so
Yes.
we're not seeing your text. We're going to try and see if we can figure that out. But if you have thoughts, call us 615-737-1025. I understand the protection isn't good enough that you can just drop back Cam Ward and have him hold the ball and look for deep shots. I understand that. But there is not what the Titans have been so good at for years when they are good is the play action, settle in, step up in the pocket, deep post. Like Tannehill did that over and over and over. That was the Khalif Raymond touchdown against the Ravens in the playoffs. I don't think we've seen Cam Ward on a play action deep drop, throw it down the field. Not once this year. And that doesn't mean they haven't called it. Again, I'll reference, as Brian Callahan said, do you have the play calls, Paul? I don't have them. I don't know if they've called it, but we haven't seen it. Like Cam Ward is not settling in the pocket and making deep throws down the field. I'd like to see that. And I understand there's more to it than just take a deep shot, but I'd like to at least see them try, right? And see if you can get the ball downfield, because this team is just not good enough to move the ball and convert on third downs consistently, especially when they've been in 3rd and 9s pretty much every single time.
Yeah. One other factor that I think we should probably mention is when Chim Dike gets those little jet sweeps across the line of scrimmage, there's been some productive play out of that. And I think it's kept the defenses honest in the NFL, the teams they've gone up against, primarily because you're stretching them out horizontally. There's going to be some more open spaces in the middle of the field. If you show the same, formation twice, maybe the thing it's happening twice, something like that, you have to keep defenses honest that way. And I think that would open up more to the play action game is what you're talking about. It'd be a great 1-2 combo. I just think I wouldn't say the confidence level, but the decision-making and the play calls has, like we've already talked about it ad nauseum, but they just haven't been there. And I think if you can start piecing together the right play calls when it comes to play action, jet sweeps, run game, and just the competency level, that at that point, that's when you'll start seeing production.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they're setting up any big plays throughout the game. And like the trick plays that they ran kind of came out of nowhere the other day, and they were in situations where it's like, man, like the flea flicker. It came when you had just moved the chains, you had a little bit of momentum, and then you move backwards. Like I'd just like to see run the ball, establish the run, which I think they've done an okay job of the last couple of weeks. Like Tony Pollard has looked solid, and take a shot. Like if Cam Ward gets sacked on it, so be it. But I would love to see Ridley or DK just try and burn down the field and see if you can get a deep play for a touchdown. Like you've scored 3 touchdowns this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
One against the Rams, and then the Pollard and Iamander one against the Colts, right?
That's
So
right.
3 touchdowns. Like, you're not going to get touchdowns again on these 10 to 12 play drives because you can't stay in front of the chains and you haven't been converting on third downs. You got to take some shots. You got to open this up. And so far, it doesn't seem like there's been a willingness to do that. I understand the protection hasn't held up. Maybe JC Latham coming back, hopefully this week, can fix some of those issues.
The issue I have with the message, I guess, to people out there when it comes to those press conferences, Brian Callahan, and I know Cam Ward doesn't have much say in this, but especially Brian Callahan's mentioned it, and Cam Ward's harped on it a little bit, is playing from behind it on the sticks, like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. And you mentioned those flea flicker plays. If you're going to do that when you get a first down, cool. And like you said earlier at the show, like if it works, you're a genius. If you're not, you're an idiot. I just think if you harp on and preach that we don't need to be playing on the 3rd and longs, the 3rd and 8s, all that, like you said, you need to establish the run game. You need to make sure that you can shorten the field of play, because when you don't, then you're going to be behind the sticks 90% of the game, and you may not have the ball for a majority of that time. So then you have to make your opportunities worthwhile, and they just haven't done that.
Guess how often the Titans are converting third downs?
Percentage-wise, I'm going to go 15%.
A little higher than that. 15 would be low.
I mean, this team's the bottom of the barrel.
That's like one out of every
it feels like
7 times.
All right, so I'll go 38%.
28%.
That
That is the worst in the league.
Okay.
Last year they were converting at 38%. It's only through 4 games, but yes, 28% is what the Titans are converting on third downs. And a lot of that is because they're third down and longs. Like, how many 3rd and 2s have the Titans had this year? Not many. They're mostly 3rd and 7 to 3rd and forever.
Yeah.
So you got to stay in front of the sticks, obviously, but that's the point I'm trying to make here is if you're only converting third downs a quarter of the time, how often are you going to be able to get down the field just trying to play chunk at a time? Like, let's get 8 here, let's get 7 there, 3. Like that, if you're not converting your third downs, you're not going to be able to move the ball. We need to see the explosive pass game open up a little bit. And again, maybe JC Latham getting healthy and coming back and having your 5 on the offensive line can be the first step in starting to take some more of those shots.
Yeah. When you get JC Latham back, I think this, like I said at the start of the show, it opens up a new window of not opportunity. Well, yes, opportunity, but it opens up a new window of evaluation. Not only just for Brian Callahan, but to see if this guy can make it past the away trip. Like if they lose to Arizona this week, and Chase has mentioned this, it could end Big Joe. It could be gone. I said a couple weeks back, I think Amy gives him the whole entire away trip. And then after that away trip, whatever happens with the Patriots, then it's curtains, but we'll see.
I don't know. If he didn't get fired this week, I don't know when it's going to happen. Like, you lose 26-0 to the owner's most hated rival, and it didn't even seem like there was a thought of it. Like,
that's what I think that's what Amy's in her head's probably thinking. Well, if I do it now, that it's predictable. Everybody knows I'll be the one to can them right now.
Yeah, I guess maybe she does. It's an optics thing.
I'm telling you, if Patriots come to town and it's a 50-0 game, this town will burn.
Well, there's also a point that Mike Florio put out there yesterday for Pro Football Talk that I think is it's kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but maybe it explains some of this. And we're going to get to that later in the show. Okay. So little tease there. That'll be coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll get into that. We are going to get into some college football coming up next. Vanderbilt at Alabama coming up as the Commodores travel down to Tuscaloosa. College game day will be down there on Saturday. Huge game as Vandy looks to get to 5-0. We'll look at what their game plan has to be. But before we do, let's go back to our phone lines one more time. Let's get to Dylan, who wants to chime in on the Titans. Dylan, thanks for calling. What you got for us this morning?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just want to talk about, like, the formation of the Titans. I forgot what the personnel is called. I think it's called 11 personnel, where you got 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, and, just a tailback. Back when we had – okay, 22, sorry. Back when we had, like, an explosive offense with A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and Derrick Henry, that's what we seem to run quite a bit in just those two-man route concepts a lot of the times. But I think with protection issues, I feel like that's what we should be doing, having, Ridley and DK or Ridley at Io Manor, Helm and Chig. I feel like we're not utilizing the tight ends enough, but I feel like we can run so many plays out of that and have extra protection for Cam, because Pollard is a good runner, but you can also motion across that, do lots of jet sweeps with DK, or at least fake it. And I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that. Should they maybe just kind of dive into that formation and just kind of spread out from there? And then I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
No, thanks for the call, Dylan. I think that's a good point. That the Titans did love to do that under Vrabel with Tannehill, was the 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. And honestly, Gunnar Helm, I know Gunnar Helm isn't known, Helm and Chig really aren't known as great blockers, but I saw Gunnar Helm have a good rep against Will Anderson this week, and it was just 1 rep. So, but I think if you could do that, go max protect, play action, you got 8 guys in the block and a 2-man route. Obviously, it doesn't always work, and Cam Ward should have time if no one's open, roll out, throw it away. But I think that is a great point by Dylan of see if you can catch these defenses off guard. If you get into a 2nd and 2, let's say Tony Pollard has a nice run on first down. Play action, max protect, 2-man route. See if you can get Ridley going deep. Maybe you've got Chim on a crosser, something like that. You need big plays. And again, I know it's easier said than done. It's like Trey calling and saying, throw more touchdowns. Like, I get it. Saying that they need more big plays, it's way easier to say it than to actually execute it. But they need to start hunting big plays a little bit.
Yeah, and we all make great points about the whole tight end situation. Under Vrabel, he had those versatile guys that played special teams, but also were tight ends that could block. And I think under Brian Callahan, you have guys like Gunnar Helm and I'm forgetting his name already,
Chigakonkwo, yeah.
They're, to me, pass first, then block.
Yeah, I think both those guys were drafted more for their receiving ability.
Yeah, and
most tight ends are these days.
Yeah,
but the blocking only tight ends usually aren't going to be the guys that you go out and spend high picks on.
Right. But what I'm saying, though, is Vrabel had that versatility of those tight ends that would block were more special teams oriented.
Right.
And you have guys now that are Gunnar Helm and Chig who are, again, goes back to the roster depth. You don't have the depth that you had in previous seasons, and you can't do those things. And I mentioned this when we're still in the weekend show, and Parker knows about this too. I mentioned 12 personnel. This team should be doing more.
Yeah.
Because when you have 2 tight ends, you can chip, block, all the above, then go out for your routes. That's what they should be doing. Because if they don't establish the run, then what do you have left?
I also like some 21 if Spears comes back. Pollard and Spears on the field together. I think that could allow you to make have a little more misdirection, all that kind of stuff. But you're right. The Titans tight ends just not as deep as it used to be. Like, what happened to Michael Pruitt and Anthony Fasano and Luke Stocker?
He's not tight ends coach.
Philip Supernaw.
Luke Stocker's with Titans now.
Really?
Tight ends coach, yeah.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah,
all those guys who used to be
trying to bring back the grit.
Used to be the 3rd tight ends who they just came in. It was like Cody Hollister being out there. If they come onto the field, you're running the football. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We're getting to some college football coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, second hour on this Tuesday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talked a lot of Titans in the first hour. We will get back into it. I mentioned there was a Pro Football Talk article out there from Mike Florio. No inside info, just some speculation around what the Titans might be doing on the Brian Callahan front. And we will get to that coming up later in the show, but did want to stop over on college football because talking about the Titans is just so negative right now. And we got two really good college football teams in the state of Tennessee and a huge game this weekend between Vanderbilt and Alabama. Tennessee's on a bye. Vanderbilt down in Tuscaloosa looking to win their second straight game over Alabama. After winning last year here in Nashville. College game day going to be down there in Tuscaloosa. Vandy obviously is the underdog. I believe I saw 10-ish points, maybe even up to 12, somewhere in there. It was double-digit spread, which on the road, you're going to get a bump if you're Alabama. Still think it's a little high. But Vandy going in, a chance to get to 6-0, clinch bowl eligibility in the first weekend of October, and put themselves right in the thick of the playoff race if they're not already there. It's going to be tough, but there's a path to win, and this is a more talented Vanderbilt team than the one that beat Alabama last year.
Yeah, it is interesting to look at Alabama. Sure, they may be a little bit more talented in some aspects, but Vandy, they're just hitting on all cylinders. Like, they're putting up basketball scores in some regard. And sure, they're going up against teams that may not be the best quality of talent, but at the same time, that builds confidence for those I would say veteran players, the juniors and seniors on this team, and the MK Young that is now starting to come into his own. I think the double running back duo there with Cedric Alexander is just it's a different level.
Well, it's like they've got four running backs who play a lot with AJ Newberry and I don't want to put Jamesel Lassiter, who is a walk-on, who he busted a long run against South Carolina for a touchdown that kind of ended that game.
Yeah,
like this Vandy team just it's deep. Like, it's deeper than I think it's been in a long time. And Alabama obviously is the more talented team. Like, Alabama's the more talented team than almost everybody else they line up against.
Yeah.
But the way Vandy's playing right now, I find it hard to believe this isn't going to be a game late into the second half. And maybe Alabama pulls away late. Again, it's in Tuscaloosa. That's a tough place to go in. But from what I've seen from Vanderbilt, I find it hard to believe that Alabama's just going to walk all over them this weekend.
Yeah, and I can see this game being a 3-point game at halftime. I really could. Like, this is going to be a dogfight for Vanderbilt. And to the point about depth with Vandy, I don't know if Alabama has that true depth on their roster. Like, I think Kalen DeBoer has his guys he wants to put out there. They're 11 on each side of the ball. But after that, I don't know. I just feel like they've gone through the gauntlet with Georgia this past weekend. I think they exposed a lot of what they wanted to really use against Vandy that they had to use against Georgia to get the job done. It's just something to keep in mind.
It's the same situation as last year of Alabama was coming off an emotional win against Georgia the week before. Vandy was coming off a bye last year, which is something to keep your mind on too. Vandy's bye week coming up next week now. So, but the big difference is last year, I think Alabama kind of looked past Vandy.
Mm-hmm.
They were the number one team in the country. I don't think Alabama's looking past Vanderbilt this year. So,
yeah. Do you think Alabama looked past Florida State in week 1?
No, I don't know if they looked past them, but I think they thought they were going to go in there and
take care of business.
Because Florida State, again, they were 2-10 last year. Like, I don't know if they looked past them, but I think they underestimated them a little bit. Like with Vandy last year, I seriously think Alabama thought that they could just walk into the stadium and win. And obviously not the same old Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And with this year, Vandy's even better than they were the year before. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Vandy has to play very similarly to how they played last year in Nashville.
Play horizontally.
You got to control the ball, keep the ball away from Alabama's offense, win the turnover battle. Like, that's going to be massive because I think with the talent that you've brought in, I think you've given yourself a little bit more cushion. Like last year, it felt like they had to play the perfect game to beat Alabama, and they did, and they won. I think you've given yourself a little bit more cushion because the talent level is a smaller gap this year, but you have to play a similar way of control time of possession, and I think you got to get a turnover early. Last year, they got a pick six off of Jalen Milroe right off the bat, made it 13-0. And it was like, oh crap, Vandy's here. I think you need a fast start again to see if you can get a turnover, get out to an early lead, and make Alabama play from behind. Because as we saw against Florida State, Alabama, when they were behind, they struggled to move the football. Ty Simpson looked frazzled. This game's at home, not in Tallahassee, but like I think that's the keys to success for Vanderbilt this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. And you made a point about going on the road and playing in a hostile environment. Vandy's already seen that this year. They've
Twice.
Twice. You think that has, I guess, matured them as a team to be like, you know what, this is another game we can go in and win this thing?
I think so. I don't know if the atmosphere of Alabama is going to rattle them that much, but I do wonder about the national attention. And we can talk about that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We have the text line back up. So if you have any text you want to get to, Dustin from Hopkinsville with a great AI generated image that he just sent. He calls it Mount Suckmore, and it has some prominent Titans figures on there. Well done, Dustin from Hopkinsville. So if you have thoughts on Vanderbilt and Alabama this weekend, get those in. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll keep talking college football on the other side. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you on this Tuesday. Talking Vanderbilt and Alabama. Game day is in Tuscaloosa this weekend. If you have thoughts, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We actually do have the text line back ready. So if you have texts, you can get those in. 9596 Lewis asks, "What with the Vandy win, how possible is college game day in Nashville for the LSU game?" I think very likely. We were actually going through that before the show started. There are a couple of other decent games. I believe Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama are that weekend. But I think with a chance, like they go to Athens every year. They're already going to Alabama this week. I think a chance to go to Nashville, if it makes sense. Like if Vandy wins or at least keeps it close in Tuscaloosa this week, I think there's a very good shot that game day is here on October 18th.
I'd agree. And to that point, if Vandy were to beat LSU, not trying to look too far into the future, could you imagine Vandy ending the era of Brian Kelly? I think that's a winner go home game for Brian Kelly, right?
I mean, he would still only have 2 losses at that point, so it's like you're still technically in the playoff race if you win out. But yeah, that might be the beginning of the end for sure. I think if Alabama had lost on Saturday to Georgia, this would be winner. You're done for Kalen DeBoer this weekend.
Absolutely.
But I think he gained himself a little good grace with that win over the weekend in Athens, snapping the 33-game home winning streak for the Bulldogs. It's a big weekend for Vanderbilt football. Maybe one of the biggest games that they've played in franchise history, program history. We go back and forth between the Titans and college. You mix up the words sometimes. Program history. And I know if you go back a long time, like there's been big games in Vanderbilt history, but the change of college football to the 12-team playoff means that like this game, if Vandy wins this game, they are in the driver's seat to go to the college football playoff. Like they would be 6-0. They still have 4 home games left on their schedule. And 3 of those are against teams that I think you could realistically say that Vandy's going to be favored in. Like it would be close with Missouri and Auburn. Like I think those will be close to pick'ems, but they'll be favored over Kentucky. You win those 3 games, that's 9 wins. All you got to do, is go to Austin and beat Texas or go to Knoxville and beat Tennessee, and you are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like this is a massive game for Vanderbilt. They're double-digit underdogs. So, like, the expectation is they're not going to win. But if they did, you're 6-0. 6-0 and probably a top 10 team in the country. The question is, this team hasn't had this high of expectations before. And you've got game day there. You've got the national spotlight. You've got Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit calling your game. Can you deal with the noise from the outside? So far, it doesn't feel like it's been an issue for this team. Clark Lee, from everything we've seen, has done a good job of keeping this team locked in, not letting the stuff from the outside get into that locker room. But you wonder if this week, with everything going on, Johnny Manziel says he's going to be on the sidelines wearing a Vandy jersey. Like, there's a whole lot around this game. Can you block it out and focus in and try and get a win this weekend?
I think they can. I really do. I think when they brought in Theo Vaughn and iShow Speed, whatever his name is, to Vandy
the
practice,
streamer.
Yeah, I think when you bring in a lot of that national attention for all these content creator influencers, it goes to show you Vanderbilt football is at a different precedent. I know that's very kind of immature in some regards to say, but I think Clark Lee has this team buying into the point where they're bought in so deep they could care less what the outside noise is. I think there's just that into it to where they have zoned out everything. And kudos to Clark Lee, because the culture he has built since coming to Vandy is changed drastically in a really good way. Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not around that team. Like, I help with the games on Saturday, but like I don't get to see what's going on in that locker room. I know as much as everybody else does from seeing like the inside the locker room videos and all this, but it feels like everybody in that locker room, from Diego Pavia down to your 7th string cornerback, is all bought in on everything Clark Lee has to say.
Yep.
And they're all chasing the same mission. And I think that's a big difference. Like 2 years ago, when the team went 2-10, like I don't know if everybody was rowing the boat in the same direction, to use a PJ Fleck reference there. But it feels like this team is all pointed straight ahead. and they want to go to the college football playoff, sometimes talent wins. And again, Alabama, you look at that roster, there are a lot more NFL players on Alabama's team than there are on Vanderbilt's team. It is not going to be easy to go on the road, beat a team that you ruined their season last year, right? Like if Alabama wins that game, they're in the playoffs and they're 10-2, and none of this around Kalen DeBoer's job ever really happens. Guess what? You did that to them last year. They're going to be looking for revenge. They've got all these first-round picks on their team. Can you go in there and punch them first? And that's going to be huge on Saturday afternoon. I hate it's not a night game, but honestly, maybe that helps out with Vanderbilt a little bit.
And you made a great point of just talking about Clark Lee and what it may be for them to get the win on Saturday. I think going back to the Netflix doc with the SEC after they lost to Texas, just his speeches to the team after that loss and just before the game and so forth, I think it gave a better appreciation for the outside looking in to say, yeah, this guy is a really good coach. He actually does preach what he's trying to play on the field. And I think that gives a lot more of a better perspective for the people outside for sure.
I loved the Netflix documentary, and I know we've talked about this before, but Clark Lee, when they just were asking him about why he came to Vanderbilt, and he said, it may sound egotistical or delusional, but I came here to be the savior of Vanderbilt football. And like, that is the mindset you have to have, right? Because again, in that same documentary, was it Paul Feinbaum, who always is kind of a Vandy hater, was saying like, calling Vandy the doormat of the SEC is an insult to doormats. Like that was the kind of stuff that was being said about Vanderbilt for a long time. And Clark Lee in 2 years has turned them into a college football contender. Like it is special to see what's going on. And it really does feel like, and I know it's a win on Saturday doesn't guarantee you anything, but it feels like a win on Saturday could be the culmination of 2 years of work of trying to get this program to prominence. And it's like, if you win on Saturday, there's no more, well, they got lucky, or, well, Lenore Sellers got hurt at halftime, or, well, if this had happened, maybe that team wasn't very good. It's like, if they beat Alabama on Saturday, there's none of that. Vanderbilt is just a playoff contender. That's all it would be.
I agree. It puts them in a different tax bracket in the rankings for sure. I mean, I think I was telling you, like, if they beat Alabama, they're definitely a top 10 team after this week, right? They have to be.
I don't know how they're not. Like, let's look at the rankings here. Like,
because if they're not, then that's just, I'd say, disrespectful to the Vandy program for what they've done. I mean,
right. Like, so you look ahead of them. You've got a couple, like, I think, sorry, Tennessee, but if Vanderbilt beats Georgia or beats Alabama this weekend, Vanderbilt's going to be ranked ahead of Tennessee.
They should
be. Vanderbilt's undefeated. Tennessee's not. I understand Georgia they should have won that game. I think you would put Vanderbilt over LSU, who both those teams have a bye this week, so there's no more data points. I think Vanderbilt would go over Iowa State.
Agree to that.
They'd pass Alabama. That would put them at 12. And then I just wonder, like, do they get above a Georgia or a Texas? Like, that's where I wonder but I think they're top 12. I think if they win against Alabama on Saturday, on Sunday afternoon when the poll comes out, they will be in a playoff position, like one of the top 12 teams.
Yeah.
Whatever about auto bids and all that stuff, but they will be a top 12 team in the country.
Okay.
Which is crazy considering, again, this team lost 10 games in a row 2 years ago. But, and again, I'm not saying they're going to beat them because, like, Alabama's a good team. This is in Alabama, and they have everything to play for down there. But I wouldn't count Vandy out based on what we've seen. 4 straight 20-point wins to start off their season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines. Our friend Clay has called in. Clay, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Jake, I turned the show on and I heard you talking about Vandy and Bama, so I was going to give my take on the game, and then I've got a question for you as I get off. The way I see this game Saturday, Vanderbilt, in my opinion, is kind of playing with house money. You go down there
you make a great showing, you compete. Hopefully you have nobody hurt. Even if you lose the game, you're 5-1. You're looking at a bye week, and then you've got LSU coming, to Nashville. And this is fun for me, Jake, because I've been a Vanderbilt fan since the 60s, and I've taken a lot of lumps in football. So the job Clark Lee has done, is amazing. What Diego Pavia has done for Vanderbilt football is amazing. So my question to you, though, is, Diego leaves, obviously, at the end of this year. They're losing a lot of good players, whether they came through the portal, whether they, whatever, guys that came in for 1 year. So do you think that Clark Lee has to put the major sales job on Coach Kill and Coach Beck to stay? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Clay. And it's a ton of fun to be able to talk about Vandy in this way. And I think Clay makes a good point of like they don't have to win this game on Saturday. Like, to make the playoff, winning on Saturday is not a necessity. It would help a good amount. Like it would put you in a really good spot if you did win. But if you just keep it close and look competitive, you can still make the playoffs if you lose on Saturday. But that is the question, right? Of, is this sustainable for Vanderbilt? When Diego Pavia leaves, will Jerry Kill stay? I know Jerry Kill's getting older. He's had some medical issues. Will Tim Beck stay? If they do stay, can you find a quarterback who can kind of recreate what Diego Pavia has brought here? But I think what's being missed out of all this is that the success that Vanderbilt has had has raised the profile of this program.
Yes.
And it's no longer around here, I think, in Middle Tennessee. I don't think it's like high school players are like, Vanderbilt. I think like, oh, Vanderbilt, new facilities. I get to live in Nashville, get a great degree, and I get to compete at the highest level of football. Like, I think the narrative around Vanderbilt is changing. Also, they've invested a whole lot in NIL.
Yeah.
So I understand the hesitance to say, like, is this sustainable with Diego Pavia leaving? But I think everything is moving in a direction for Vanderbilt that they're only going to get more talented from here and be a team that can compete consistently. Now, maybe next year you don't find a quarterback who can immediately pick it up as fast as Diego, and maybe there's a slight step back. But I think in terms of progress, it may not be linear, but I think this program is headed in the right direction, and it's not going to just crater out as soon as Diego Pavia leaves campus.
Yeah, I think and I've already talked about the veteran leadership. I think this veteran leadership does help, I guess, the youth on this team, the freshmen, the sophomores. And we've already seen, you mentioned last year, the running back who's really just come into his own as well. I think when you have those spurts and flashes of promise with those young guys, it still goes to show you there's no need to really go out to the portal and grab XYZ amount of players. Sure, you may go grab a portal prospect for a quarterback position because that's the face of the team. I get all that. Maybe you do bring in a guy that's similar to Pavia's style of play. I don't know, but you definitely can do some damage in the portal for sure now in this NIL era. So
For sure.
I think if you can just keep the promise of your young position players minus the quarterback position, I think they shouldn't have too much of a drop off. Maybe 8 wins. I'm just ballparking something next year, and that's too far in advance. But
Right.
something in that realm, I think, is still in the right direction.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be like Vandy is going to be 5-0 every year heading into SEC play and like have a chance at the playoffs every year. But I think this team, they're not going to be a team that goes 3-9 anymore. Like I think that's behind them, at least with what they have right now in Clark Lee. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll look a little bit further around the SEC coming back. The SEC has 9 of the top 16 teams in the country, if I'm counting correctly. Yes, they have 9 of the top 16 in the country. How many of them make the playoffs? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Nashville hopes that College Game Day coming to our city in a couple of weeks. If Vandy can get a win this weekend in Tuscaloosa with College Game Day in town, very good chance that that ends up happening on October 18th. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you on this Tuesday. Next man up. Do want to issue a correction, a PTI errors and omission segment here. Andrew Allegretta let me know that the broadcast crew, not Chris and Herbie, on Saturday for Vandy, Alabama. I guess they're doing Miami, Florida State. It'll be Sean McDonough's crew on Saturday, who is calling the Tigers Guardians this series this week. So I'll get to hear lots of Sean McDonough this weekend. His iconic voice crack moment with the Titans and Chiefs in the playoffs from back in 2018.
Yeah.
Was that him and Gruden doing that game?
It was.
It was him and Gruden.
It was actually Gruden's last game as an ESPN
right, because he
analyst.
became the Raiders head
Correct.
coach. Yeah. That was the play that didn't count on Derrick Henry's fumble that they took back for a touchdown. Anyway, yes, not Kirk and Herbie on Saturday for Vandy and Alabama, issuing that correction here. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We're asking the question here. You got 9 SEC teams in the top 16. Like, that is over half of your conference is right around the playoff conversation. How many of these teams do we think get in? And it's interesting looking at the rankings where would you have guessed I know it's only the end of September, but the top 3 teams in the SEC are Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M.
It's crazy. I mean, I thought A&M would be up there because that was my preseason favorite.
Right.
But Oklahoma, it's interesting. They have to do some damage control without John Mateer right now. I mean, the whole hand injury thing. It's surprising. I'm very surprised. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's tough for Oklahoma, and that they hope they get him back sooner rather than later, because I don't know if they can stay afloat with the schedule that they've got. But Ole Miss, statement win against LSU this weekend. Lane Kiffin. All the headlines from Lane Kiffin with Whit Weeks dating his daughter.
You look for him after the game. Where's Whit at?
Yeah, where's Whit? He said that in the post-game press conference. And then I guess there was a video of Whit Weeks puking before a play, and Lane Kiffin just responded, tempo.
I love how he just trolls the internet. It's great.
Lane Kiffin, he is the internet's college football coach. And maybe the head coach at Alabama at some point.
Or Florida.
Or, yeah, who knows? Could be some openings in the SEC coming up this offseason. But then right behind Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, because they're 4, 5, and 6 right now. Correct? Yes. You've got Texas at 9, Alabama at 10, LSU's at
13.
13, Georgia at 12, Tennessee at 15, Vanderbilt at 16. So you've got all these teams right there. Now, you got auto bids and stuff like that. So you look at the top, Ohio State, Oregon, Miami. Feels pretty safe that those 3 teams are going to be in the playoff. You've got a couple other Big Ten teams mixed in there with Penn State and Indiana. You're going to get an auto bid from the Big 12. You're going to get an auto bid from a group of 5, likely the winner of the American with USF and Tulane. But is it realistic that 6 teams out of the SEC could get into the playoff this year?
It's realistic. I'd say it's a pipe dream realism. I mean,
it'd be tough. It'd be tough to get. I mean, because we haven't gotten into the thick of SEC play yet, where these teams kind of cannibalize themselves.
Right.
So we're kind of at the point where, you could have 9 in the top 16, but you need some things to fall your way. But I think 6 is the ceiling.
Yeah, for me, I think the sweet spot number is 4. I think 4 SEC teams I could see get into the playoff. As for those teams right now looking at it, I think A&M's one of them. LSU's on the borderline for me. I think if Vandy takes care of business against Alabama and maybe they lose to LSU or they beat LSU, one or the other, I think LSU with 2 losses, that's when you get into the conversation of you got to start dwindling them down, because that gives an extra respect factor for Vandy's resume, and that Vandy's taking care of business. I think it would leapfrog them. Texas is still trying to figure things out. I'm not fully sold on them. I think they may have another loss coming up potentially. That's just like you talk about cannibalism in the SEC. I think that's where you're going to start seeing it with these, I guess you could call them powerhouses that are now middle of the pack in the top 25.
Yeah, we're going to see Like, we're starting October tomorrow. By the end of October, we're going to have a really good idea where these teams stand. We went through Vandy's schedule over the next month of at Alabama, LSU, Missouri at home, at Texas. Look at LSU's schedule. They got a bye this week, then South Carolina at home. And South Carolina looked good against Kentucky this past weekend. Maybe they got a little bit of swagger back. Then you come to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. You got A&M and you got at Alabama, all coming up in the next month, 5 weeks or so. So this is LSU. Do you think if they miss the playoffs again this year that Brian Kelly's gone?
100%.
Really?
I think this LSU temperature is hot right now. That's a program that does not like losing, especially a program that wins national championships with every coach they bring in. And I told this to my best friend, I was like, listen, if they bring in Brian Kelly to LSU, they're just bringing in Notre Dame 2.0, because Notre Dame not being in a conference allowed Brian Kelly to get away with a lot of things. When you're in the SEC, buddy, there is no getting away with anything. You are held accountable for everything that you say. Nonetheless, I know Connor has a little conspiracy about the what is it, Calipariism or whatever it is with Brian Kelly.
He's got some of that.
Yeah, with Brian Kelly, that is. So I think he's gone though. If he loses to Vandy, I think you're right. It starts the avalanche of his departure from LSU.
And again, that schedule is tough. They finished the year against Oklahoma, so not going to be easy for LSU. And you look at some of these teams. I think right now, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and A&M feel like they're in a really good spot because they're not the hunted. Like, they're not the teams that are always at the top. They're not your Georgia. They're not your Texas. And Texas is the one I want to point out here. Like, they haven't played anybody since Ohio State. Like, they lost to Ohio State on the road. They beat San Jose State, although not as convincingly as maybe you would hope. They beat UTEP, maybe not as convincingly as you would hope. They blew out Sam Houston this past week, but now they get into SEC play. Their schedule isn't brutal, right? You got
can be,
but there's no easy SEC schedule,
right?
But they got Florida, they got Oklahoma and the Red River rivalry coming up.
I think they're getting not Florida. I think they're getting Oklahoma at the right time.
Right. If Mateer's not there, like, there's a chance you win that one. Then you get Kentucky, who so far has been the worst team in the SEC.
Yep.
Then Mississippi State, who looked good this week. They did. They did, but like, that's another one where Texas is going to be favored.
In Starkville, by the way.
Yes, in Starkville. Then you got Vandy at home. So, like, the schedule over the next month and a half for Texas isn't that bad. But you got Georgia in Athens, and you got A&M at the end of the year. Those are going to be tough games. And it's like, you lost that game to Ohio State. I know that the committee has said that they're going to value strength of schedule a little bit more, but a 3-loss team automatically puts you right on the bubble.
Yeah, 100%. If you're a 3-loss team, especially in the SEC, your odds are favoring more of not getting in the playoff than getting in.
Yes. So the SEC, it's loaded right now. You got 9 teams in the top 16. Who gets in? We'll talk more about it coming up next and wrap up hour number 2. More Titans talk coming up in the final hour of the show. Also, the MLB playoffs start in just over an hour. Nick Frazier and I will give our World Series predictions coming up at the end of the show. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Oh, wow. I love it. Parker Kelly coming back with some great music. MLB playoffs coming up in just over an hour. My Tigers, I'm getting nervous here, guys. It's, you know, I kind of felt like with the way the Tigers collapsed that I wouldn't really care as much, but it's playoff baseball. I've only experienced this twice since I was 14 years old. So I'm getting ready. Tarek Scooball now. We'll talk more baseball later. Wrapping up our conversation on college football. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up 1025 The Game. 9 SEC teams in the top 16. And we just went through some of the big names there, whether they can make the playoffs. Let's say 5 get in. Who are you picking as your 5 right now?
Ooh, my 5, excluding bias, I would go A&M, Georgia, Tennessee, and then taking my bias out of it. I want to put Vandy in there, but I'm just going to keep it out of there. Did I say Texas already?
No.
I'll go Texas.
So you got A&M, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas.
Yes.
One more.
Oh.
If you want one. I mean, if you only think 4 are going to get in.
Yeah, I only think 4's going to get in. But if I had to put a 5th one in there, I'll go Alabama.
Yeah.
That just seems like the safe play. I mean, if not Alabama, I would definitely pick Vanderbilt. It honestly, Vanderbilt for me, it teeters on this game Saturday.
Yeah, I think for
does.
Vanderbilt, the outlook changes completely if you win this game Saturday.
Yeah.
It goes from maybe if everything goes right, they could get into the playoffs to, hey, all they need is a few things to go right and they could make the playoffs. Like that's what it flips like that. And so
like if you were to ask me this question next week, yeah, Vandy's one of those 4 or 5 teams I'm picking.
If I had to pick, Oklahoma, I know they've looked good, but just the uncertainty there, I can't put them in. I'm looking at Ole Miss's schedule, and I think there's enough wins on there to get Lane Kiffin in. I think there is. So I'm going to go with the Rebels. I'm going to go with Texas too. I started the conversation about Texas wanting to pick them to not make the playoffs, and then I just went through their schedule. I'm like, well, I mean, as long as they're just decent, they should get in. So I'm going to say Texas gets in too. Ole Miss, Texas. I'll go Alabama. I think that was a big win for them. And again, the talent level there, if they can start to get everything else going their way and get the most out of that talent, they're going to be tough to beat. So I'll go with those 3. I'll go Georgia. And then, man, I honestly, the last one, it might be the winner of Tennessee Vandy at the end of the year. Like that, and that's awesome to say. I heard Joe and Robbie talking about this morning on Robbie and Rex Road of like, that could be the biggest game in Tennessee Vanderbilt history.
Yeah.
And again, you have to go back a long ways, and I'm sure there are other big games, but that if a playoff spot is on the line, like both those teams are 9-2 going into that game, that is massive in Neyland Stadium. And I know it would take a lot to get there for both those teams. Vandy's got to take care of business, can only lose 2 of their next 6 to get there. And it's a gauntlet. Tennessee's got to be able to find a way to win a couple of tough games. They play Oklahoma late enough in the year that you'd think John Mateer might be back for that game.
Right.
So it's going to take a lot, but I think I don't know if I could pick one because I think it might actually come down to that last game.
I'd have to agree with you. You mentioned Texas and their strength of schedule. I think you mentioned last segment about how the committee is really taking into consideration for strength of schedule. If you look at Texas's schedule and you see Vanderbilt on there, say if Vanderbilt does beat Texas, right? That's 2 losses. I mean, the last 3 games for them would be, or 4 games. That's 3, excuse me. It'd be 3 games, Georgia, Arkansas, Texas A&M. You feel like does a 2-loss Texas A&M team to Vanderbilt, does that leave them on the outside looking in a little bit, you think?
Yeah. Man.
I mean, the way I said it kind of makes me disrespect Vandy in a roundabout way, but I feel like that's what the committee would do.
It's just you look at the top 20 right now in the country, and it's just there's so much to sort out. Like Notre Dame is even sitting at 21, and like they could make a run and get themselves back into the playoff conversation.
Well, they got to win out.
Like Florida State, I know they lost to Virginia on Friday, but like they could make a run and be dangerous. I mean, we saw what they did against Alabama. Georgia Tech is undefeated in the ACC. You got Iowa State at 5-0 in the Big 12. Like there are a lot of teams that are lurking, and the SEC there's going to be so many crucial games down the stretch of like, I think honestly, most of November is going to feel like elimination games in the SEC of like, hey, winner of this game gets to stay in the playoff race. Loser, sorry, you go to the back of the line.
Yeah. And the whole question in my head that comes to mind is SEC fatigue. Are people going to get to the point where, listen, if 4 or 5 SEC teams are getting into this, what about those Notre Dames, those Florida States, like you're talking about? Like, I think that's what is going to become a problem this upcoming playoff.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some people out there that are not going to be in favor of this SEC fatigue, or they are in favor of it, whatever.
The ACC is making a strong push to have 2 teams.
Yeah.
Because Georgia Tech, again, is undefeated. They almost lost to Wake Forest on Saturday. So, like, who knows if they're going to be able to sustain it.
Right.
But they are undefeated. Florida State has the 1 loss, but they're still a top 20 team in the country. And I hate to say it, Virginia is in the top 25 too. And their loss to NC State does not count as a league game, actually.
Why is that?
I don't know. They played it as a non-conference game.
Interesting.
So it is not an ACC game. But outside of that, you look back at the Big 12, like it looks like Texas Tech and Iowa State are kind of the front runners there, but they could get 2 teams in. It's going to be a really fun end of the season because it does feel like there are lots of teams who feel like they have a shot at the playoffs, and it's going to get dwindled down.
Right.
But I feel like there could be some teams who get left out that feel like they deserve to be in at the end of the year. And the committee, based on what we have right now, and obviously lots of games left to be played, but I think the committee is going to have themselves some tough choices based on the way this has played out so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Texas Tech losing a game on their schedule and being left out and being a 1-loss team.
Right.
I feel like the disrespect from the committee when it comes to Big 12 teams, especially a team like Texas Tech that's blowing teams out of the water by like 60 points, 50 points. Like, come on, a little more respect on that.
That's the ACC and the Big 12. You're still playing in like BCS football where it's like you have to basically be perfect to get in to the dance.
Yeah.
The SEC and the Big 10, it's like, all right, if you just get through that slate with 2 losses, here you go.
It's like they're held to a different standard, like BCS.
But
and college football.
I mean, I get it. Like this, the strength of schedule is different. Like in the SEC, if your worst games are Kentucky and Mississippi State, that's different than playing Wake Forest and
Kent State,
Virginia Tech,
Oregon State,
like all those teams that you see in these other conferences. So 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Lots to play out in the SEC and college football as a whole. Big game this Saturday. Vanderbilt and Alabama will continue to preview it all week long. But back into the Titans when we come back. I read an article yesterday from Pro Football Talk Mike Florio. This was not sourced information, but he speculated something that I hadn't thought of before. It might be a little bit of a conspiracy, but we'll get into it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, wrapping up hour number 2 here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour, next man up, 102.5. The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you on your Tuesday morning. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Plenty left to get to in this final hour. The baseball coverage on ESPN has just gotten underway. Tigers and Guardians at the top of the hour. We got Padres and Cubs coming up at, I believe it's 2 o'clock Central Time. We've got Yankees Red Sox at 5. I believe you can listen to that on 94.9 The Fan. And wrapping up the night, Dodgers and Reds. So lots of great baseball. We'll talk baseball in the final half hour of the show, but I did want to get back into the Titans here. I saw this article from Pro Football Talk yesterday. Mike Florio wrote this. The title of the article, "The Brian Callahan Watch is On." And here's just a couple excerpts from it. Plenty of coaches have been fired after only 4 games. With Tennessee's 4th loss this year coming in shutout fashion during a return to Houston, owner Amy Adams-Strunk quite possibly has seen and heard enough. But here is the interesting part. The overriding question for Strunk is whether she has decided to make a change eventually. Once that decision is made, there's no reason to not implement it. It gives, if nothing else, the team an extended runway to commence the search for a successor. Obviously, an interim hire would need to be made. There aren't many clear options on the current staff. He does mention Mike McCoy. Here's the sentence that I wanted to talk about. If Strunk were inclined to take a page from the 2022 Colts playbook and bring in someone from the outside, Chad Brinker, who currently has the keys to the football operations, spent plenty of time in Green Bay with Mike McCarthy. It could take a little time to get the pieces in place. So, conspiracy theory here. Why has Brian Callahan not been fired? Are the Titans trying to set up Mike McCarthy to come in and take over midseason? I'm putting this in the box of tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, because that is 99% not the case. But I thought it was interesting that Mike Florio wrote that in this article, that if they were looking to set something up and get somebody in from the outside to take over for Brian Callahan, obviously that would take more than just one day to work out those details.
Yeah, it would take weeks, if not months, right?
I mean, I think it would at least, like, once they made the decision, if Chad Brinker said, like, I want to bring Mike McCarthy in now, I think it would probably take at least a week to iron out a deal. Which, is that a little shady?
Yes.
To try to hire someone behind Brian Callahan's back just to fire him once that deal's ready? 100%.
Yes.
But I thought it was interesting the way that Mike Florio put that, because I hadn't thought about it that way of like, yeah, I guess if they wanted to do something like that, because the Colts did bring in Jeff Saturday, different situation. But if they wanted to do that, it would take some time to iron out all the details of that. Just throwing it out there. Again, I am not advocating for this. I don't think this is going to happen. I think the most likely scenario is Brian Callahan fired at the bye week and Mike McCoy takes over as the head coach. And then you hire somebody, could be Mike McCarthy, in the offseason. But I don't know if the Titans would be sold enough on Mike McCarthy to just not go through a coaching search. Well, I guess he would be the interim coach. They'd have to go through the real coaching search with the Rooney Rule and all that stuff. But, like, I can't imagine that they don't want to do their full due diligence on everybody available.
I think they should, obviously. But when it comes to the whole Rooney Rule situation, like you said, you go through your ABCs. I mean, if you already have somebody set in stone, just go after him. Like, if it is Mike McCarthy, because it seems like
that's the obvious
direction.
one, right? Like, you can make all of the connections with Chad Brinker, and you want an experienced head coach and somebody who's developed a young quarterback.
Could you imagine? It's conspiracy a little bit. If they hire McCarthy and Brinker's out the door, like a few.
Well, they wouldn't do that.
I know.
Yeah,
but it would make me happy.
Brinker deserves more blame than he's getting.
Yes,
100%. But if they're going to let him choose the next coach, Mike McCarthy is pointing at you with big red flashing lights that could be the guy.
Right.
And I wouldn't have a problem with it, quite honestly. He has a good record in the NFL. He developed Aaron Rodgers. He won a Super Bowl. I know that you don't want to just, well, he won a Super Bowl and bring him in, but he has won everywhere he's gone. And he's proven that he can work well with quarterbacks. He's an offensive guy, and you don't have to worry about any of the stuff that you're dealing with Brian Callahan of not knowing the rules or not being able to run an organization successfully because he's done it twice. Like I think it just makes a ton of sense. I would be on board with it. Is it the flashiest hire? No, but I think it might be the hire that the Titans would make and I think should make.
Yeah, I think it's the only logical one. My biggest issue is, like, can he win in the AFC? He's been in the NFC.
Well, if Cam Ward's the quarterback, if he's the guy you hope he is, then yeah.
Okay.
Because quarterbacks is what in the AFC you get. If you have the quarterback, you can compete.
Right. I don't know. This is the fan speaking. Nervous. I'm just nervous when you don't. It's the mystery of the unknown for me. Like, I get McCarthy he's seen his day. He's done a really good job, but is he still going to be that same quality coach when he comes to Nashville?
Right. Yeah. You don't know that, but it seems like that's the obvious choice. And I thought it was very interesting that Mike Florio put that in there of like, hey, if they're trying to bring him in, it might take a little bit. I'm not sure I like the idea of bringing him in as an interim head coach, because it's like, if you think this guy is the guy of the future, don't just plop him into a room with nobody he knows and like say, all right, this is your coach for the rest of the year. You have a game on Sunday. Go. Like, I think you need a little bit more of a succession plan and a way to work him in and let him choose some of his coaches. I don't know if you can just be like, all right, week 6, Raiders are on deck. You're on it, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. And I think also Titans fans would be very upset with that, because if you're halfway through the season and you're 0-7? Yeah.
After the Patriots game?
Yeah, 0-7. Titans fans are thinking, well, we're in good contention for the number 1 overall pick. Don't bring in an interim coach to give us momentum for 4 or 5 games and go 5-7. Then you've screwed up our future. Whereas you could get a high draft pick and you leave Mike McCarthy with all the keys to the whole entire garage, your Corvette, your Ferrari, everything. Then you have all this ammunition, or in this case, gasoline tanks, to where you can go splurge and get a lot of draft capital.
No, I think a marriage of Mike Borgonzi, Mike McCarthy could make a lot of sense to try and get this team back on track. Those are 2 guys who have been around winning, and Mike McCarthy, a guy who, like, I saw some people saying, like, well, Mike McCarthy was only good because he had Aaron Rodgers. It's like, he was a large reason why Aaron Rodgers was good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it goes hand in hand there.
Exactly.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Dustin from Hopkinsville wants to chime in on Mike McCarthy. Dustin, good morning. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Good morning, guys. My first question is, how much longer do we have to pay Vrabel? Are we still paying him?
Vrabel, they extended him, I believe, through 2027. Because him and Robinson got the same extension. So I think, but no, he has a head coaching job, so they don't have to pay him anymore.
Okay, all right. So he's off the books.
Yes, but they are still paying Robinson and Carthon.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's just the whole insanity thing I've been preaching. Keep doing the same thing, trying to hit a home run on somebody that knows absolutely nothing or showed nothing yet. But yeah, I like the McCarthy hire. He has been on winning teams. Yeah, it's been with Aaron Rodgers. Like you said, he helped in developing him, and their defense has always looked freaking great. They always have great players in Green Bay, but I believe they need to hire him mid-season or sooner, because as the season goes on, these other teams are going to start losing. Or they're going to find out, the Jets are going to find out their quarterback or their coach is not who they want, and they're the Jets, so they'll get rid of him in a year. You want to come after this guy right now while there's less teams in the hat, and pay him. And you want a guy who's been tenured. You don't want another guy who is he's been this OC under these teams that have lost, the Raiders and all these teams. And at one point he was under McVay for like 5 seconds. So go get McCarthy. He's want everything that happened in Dallas, erase it, because Jerry Jones is the coach, the owner, the GM. I'm pretty sure he's the janitor as well. But yeah, I love the McCarthy hire, and it needs to happen soon, because Brian Callahan is regressing. You are not going to know what you got with Cam Ward if you go the whole season with Brian. If you, it's a trade-off. Yes, if we win 5 games, okay, we've got a winning product on the field. We ain't going to get as good a pick, but picking it at 5 to 10 isn't bad. And Borgonzi showed you what he can do in the 4th round. So I really like McCarthy, and I like him sooner than later.
Thanks for the call, Dustin. I get that of like, if you know he's the guy, maybe that's the reason you don't want to go wait, is because you don't want someone else to swoop in. Like Mike McCarthy, I'm looking at his like career. He's made the playoffs in all but 5 seasons as a head coach in the NFL. And again, he's been doing it for almost 20 years. He's won over 60% of his games. He's got 11 playoff wins. And like Dustin says, erase everything that happened in Dallas. He went 12-5, 3 straight years in Dallas.
Pretty good.
And his last year, like Dak Prescott was hurt last year. So I don't know. I would be on board for the Mike McCarthy. 2181 says, as a Dallas fan, I'm going to plead for the Titans to look elsewhere in regards to McCarthy. But like, I really think that he gets a worse rap than he deserves. Like, that is a guy who has won and won consistently at the NFL level. And again, has proven that he can develop a young quarterback. Like, it is funny. He was the offensive coordinator in San Francisco in 2004 when the Niners decided to draft Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers.
Really?
And then he went and took the Packers job and developed Aaron Rodgers into an MVP level quarterback. So I always thought that was funny. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will get to your phones coming up next. More on a possibility. And again, I'm still putting it in tinfoil hat theory from Mike Florio, that if the Titans were possibly looking at bringing in an interim head coach, an example given was Mike McCarthy from outside, it might take a week or two to get those pieces in place. Could that be something the Titans are looking at? 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. We were looking at an article from Pro Football Talk. Mike Florio put out an article yesterday saying the Brian Callahan watch is on. And he mentioned in that article, and again, this wasn't sourced information. This wasn't any kind of actual report. It was just speculation of if the Titans were looking for an outside hire as the interim head coach, and he mentioned Mike McCarthy as someone with connections to Chad Brinker, that would take a couple of weeks to get into place. It makes you wonder, like, maybe could that be something they were looking into? Again, 1% chance. I like maybe a little higher than 1%, but very low. But we were talking about the idea of Mike McCarthy just overall as the head coach, and I would be a fan of it. I know we did get a text here from Steven from Hendersonville. Says a listener on PK's postgame show asked about McCarthy, and PK questioned the hire, citing McCarthy is out of touch. Example being McCarthy showed the Cowboys scenes from Austin Powers, but the players were clueless. Sure, fine. Like, maybe he's not old, but I'm sure he could hire coaches who can connect with the players a little bit more.
If Mike McCarthy's out of touch at 12-5 in Dallas,
right,
I'll take
again.
that.
He won 30. Yeah, he went 12-5 three straight years. So he can show 70s and 80s movies clips to these players as much as they want. 90s. I don't know, when was Austin Powers from? 90s.
Yeah, 90s.
Yeah,
it's like 94.
He can show Ferris Bueller and all the like older movies. I don't care. Just win games. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Bud is on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Wanting to talk about Mike McCarthy. Bud, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
All right. I think we can all agree without issue it's a train wreck over there.
For sure.
Right? Now, you've addressed one half of the Mike McCarthy issue, but not the other half. He's going to demand a lot. Is Amy going to give it to him?
That is a good point. And we were actually talking about that during the break, Bud, that you can't bring him in as the interim and not promise him that he's going to be the head coach of the future, which presents a whole bunch of issues.
Well, I say don't bring him in as an interim. Don't let it happen.
Thank you for the call, Bud.
Right.
I agree. I think it would be complicated to do that. And I really don't think they're going to go out of their way to do that. Florio put this out there. I don't think there's any credibility to like this actually happening. It was just a speculation from him. Lester on our text line says McCarthy is still getting paid from Dallas, could possibly be a consultant, but some rumors are maybe a coordinator from Buffalo, Kansas City, or Ravens. Yeah. McCarthy could end up being a consultant. I've heard Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, Joe Brady, offensive coordinator from the Bills, or Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator from the Chiefs, could end up being Titans targets. But here's the issue that Nick and I were talking about during the break is, guess what? Mike McCarthy comes in if you did hire him as the interim head coach. And we're getting a little too deep on what is a very unlikely scenario, but let's say they hire him as the interim. He's going to want you to promise that he's going to be the head coach moving forward. He's not going to move to Nashville and take this job without guarantees that he's going to be the head coach beyond this year. Because for the Titans, like, what's the harm of, hey, bring him in, give him 7 games with Cam Ward. If it doesn't work out, see ya. So Mike McCarthy's not going to sign up for that. But the NFL is going to make the Titans do a coaching search at the end of the year and follow all of the steps of the Rooney Rule. Not that it hasn't been made a sham before, Patriots this past year. But I don't know if the NFL is going to love it. It's just like, hey, you can't promise the guy the job before you go through all of these steps. And the Titans clearly aren't going to bring Mike McCarthy in unless he's going to be the guy for a couple of years at this point.
Yeah, and the caller Bud made a good point about Amy. Is she going to give him everything he wants? And I think Amy's got to just get out of her ways of having somewhat all the control, because we saw it under the Vrabel era where Vrabel wanted more control of the roster, of whoever to hire for GM, stuff like that. That it all went down into flames went up into flames, because they couldn't agree on things. And if that's the case with Mike McCarthy, then this Titans team is going to be continuously bad, straight up.
Yeah, it's all going to be interesting once this comes to a head. And again, it seems like it's a when, not an if question that Brian Callahan has let go. He's still here. And every time he steps on the sideline, there's a chance to move in the right direction. So far, it has not been moving in any kind of solid direction. So you think there's going to be a coaching search this year. Mike McCarthy, again, blinking lights right at you. That is the guy who makes the most sense. But obviously, there are other candidates out there. That's why I think this is a little bit premature to put this out there that he could be the interim. Is like, I think they will look at Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy gets an interview, but I think there are other sitting coaches on other teams the Titans would want to talk to before guaranteeing that Mike McCarthy is going to be the head coach.
Maybe they go defense. Maybe they want to say, hey, Robert Saleh, do you want to come interview for the Titans job? I mean, it's something to look into.
Robert Saleh, to me, feels like a guy who's a really good defensive coordinator, but can't be a head coach. I think the guy you look at, and there's more complications with this because of the lawsuit, but Brian Flores in Minnesota, I thought he was a fine head coach with the Dolphins, and his defense is awesome. And if he could bring in an offensive mind who can be the developmental guy for Cam Ward, we mentioned Mike McDaniel as a possibility.
Cliff Kingsbury?
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury would come over to be the OC, but if he came over as the head coach, I don't know. This is it's going to be very interesting how all of this plays out because the Titans can't get this wrong. You cannot with a quarterback that you took first overall heading into his second year, likely with a new head coach, you can't get it wrong because not only would that set the team back as a head coach, you set the team back at quarterback because if you can't develop Cam Ward, this team goes from rebuilding to back to the bottom, having to find a new quarterback.
Yeah, they say, when you draft a player that's like Isaiah Wilson, you set a team back for 5 years. If you get the wrong head coach, you're setting your franchise back 10 years.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Right. I mean, finding a quarterback is not easy. How many times do you get a chance to pick number one in the draft? Not very often.
Nope.
You took your chance on Cam Ward. And we'll have Corey Curtis on tomorrow from News 2 for his weekly visit. He'll be on for all 3 hours. He said last week, and I think this is the only way the Titans can frame any decision they make. What is the best decision for the quarterback? Because if you can get the quarterback right, and he is your starting quarterback for the next 10 plus years, everything else is going to be a whole lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't mean that you're going to go win a Super Bowl, but it allows you to build the rest of the team without having to worry about the quarterback. So you have to be able to make the right choice here with a head coach who's going to develop him. Ricky on the text line asked, why the hell would we want Matt Nagy? What did he do as the Bears coach? He went to the playoffs. With Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback, Matt Nagy was not as bad as people remember him in Chicago. It ended badly and he kind of went up in flames, but early on, Matt Nagy was pretty good with Chicago. I'm not saying that would be a good hire. I would say out of the coaches I named, he'd probably be my least favorite, but there's the Borgonzi connection there,
right? Which
would make sense. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Lots of texts on our text line. 8586 says the Titans can't afford to bring in a coach that's not known for his quarterback ability. It's fair. I mean, I don't know if you can bring in a defensive guy because you worry about whoever he brings as coordinator leaving. I think you do need an offensive guy. I think those guys that we listed off are probably the most likely candidates.
Yeah.
Add Kingsbury in there.
I know this is an outlier, but I mentioned this last week with Chase McJoe, Joe Brady.
Yeah. If you wanted to go young again, and at least it's a guy with play calling experience, but you run the risk of the same issues you had with Callahan of is he ready to be the head coach?
Right.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Time to get into some baseball. It is the first day of the MLB postseason, although it is in September. We have not hit October baseball yet. Nick Frazier and I are going to talk about some of the biggest storylines as we get ready for the wild card games coming up at the top of the hour. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. 30 minutes left in the show. Chase and Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour. And as always, on Tony Tuesdays, we appreciate Dr. Crane for doubling up with us on the show today. Corey Curtis will be in with us tomorrow, so excited for that. You guys, 12:15 today, Will Muschamp coming on?
That is correct.
Yeah, so make sure to keep it tuned right here for that. That'll be fun with Chase and Big Joe coming up just past the top of the hour at 12:15. We got playoff baseball coming up just past the top of the hour. My Detroit Tigers getting ready to play in Cleveland. I have low expectations for this team in the playoffs, which is sad to say when they had the best record in baseball for over the first half of the season. But anyway, a lot of storylines in the playoffs this year, and it's wide open.
Yeah.
I know the Dodgers are the favorites because they obviously have the best team. They've went out, they've spent a whole lot of money, but they're playing in a 3-game series. And these 3-game series in the wild card round, anything can happen. Like it's baseball, it's random. And I think if the Dodgers can get through these next 3 days, which likely, I think they're lucky they didn't get the Mets. And apologies to our resident Mets fans, Teron Davenport, Willie Donick. Tough way to end their season. But if it was the Mets have the talent to stack up against the Dodgers. In the 3-game series, you have the firepower that you could win. I don't know if the Reds do.
We'll see what Hunter Green has.
Right, and
look,
that's big. Hunter Green.
He's a big pitcher. Like, the fact you can throw 100 miles per hour for 4 or 5 straight innings against guys like Ohtani, Freeman, Betts. I just think that the depth of this Dodgers offensive lineup, it hits a different level. Like with Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pages, Max Muncy,
right?
Like those guys that don't really produce as much in the regular season, they hit a different level when they go to the playoffs.
Right.
I don't understand.
It's not just the star players for the Dodgers. It's all up and down that lineup that they're going to be a tough out. And Blake Snell's going tonight. It'll be Yamamoto tomorrow, and then Shohei Ohtani is scheduled to pitch in Game 3 if necessary. It's going to be tough to beat them if they get out of this 3-game set because they have the pitching, and I just don't know if they can match up. They'll have to play the Phillies next, which Phillies, that's a team they can hit with anybody. But Zach Wheeler, their ace, not going to be pitching in the playoffs. Correct. So the Dodgers, their path to repeat is not going to be easy, but I don't know if I can pick against them.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I don't know. Yamamoto just struggles sometimes in big pressured games. Like we saw at his opening game this year when he was selected to pitch, he struggled. I think he gave up like 4 runs, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have a great start. And then the whole elbow thing started to come back into play. And, he had the whole elbow thing going back to high school, and they wanted to make sure he was treated for that and played through the majors. And now he's here at major league level. So I don't know. That's something to keep an eye on, though.
Dodgers going to be the favorite out of the NL, but we've got the Brewers, who locally, Nashville Sounds, Brewers AAA team, a lot of guys who made their way through Nashville on the team with the best record in baseball. So going to be interesting to watch them. They'll get the winner of Cubs and Padres. Parker, I know you'll be locked in on your Cubs. That series
I'm doing plaster.
It's 2:00 today. Did they start?
2:00 on ABC.
There you go. So my Tigers at noon, Parker's Cubs at 2. In the AL, the MLB got its dream. A 3-game Yankees-Red Sox series in the Bronx. It's
cinema.
There's nothing outside of a Yankees-Dodgers World Series again. I don't think there's anything that the MLB wanted more.
Yeah, that right there is exactly what everybody needed. I think for the game of baseball in general, to get more eyes on the game, that's what you need. You need that rivalry matchup, Yankees-Dodgers. The fact that it's in the Bronx, it only adds up a little bit. And plus, the Red Sox are great.
Yeah,
they've been playing great.
You got Garrett Crochet going tonight. Like it's going to be a really fun series to watch. The rivalry and the expectations for the Yankees because of the way they finished the year. Like I know they didn't win the division. The Blue Jays were able to hold them off, but the Yankees. You look at that AL. The Yankees are the favorite. In my mind, the Mariners look really good. And if I had to pick a team to come out of the AL, I think I'd go Seattle.
Really?
The pitching is just with Kirby and Wu and Castillo and Gilbert. Like it feels tough to see anybody in the AL being able to match up with them, especially since they got the bye.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast recently with Colton Wong, and he was talking about his time in the majors and how, in St. Louis, it was a true pros pro organization. And then when he went to Seattle, he said they're getting there. This is a podcast probably about based off 2 years ago. He said Seattle's getting there.
Yeah.
They have the intangibles to make a playoff push, but they don't have the pitching staff to really get them over the hump. And I think you make a valid point. They have a strong pitching staff this postseason to where they can make a run.
And they got one of the best closers in baseball with Munoz. And obviously Cal Raleigh just hit 60 home runs. They've got Julio Rodriguez. They got Randy Arozarena. Like this is a team that's talented. And I really don't think people are paying enough attention to Seattle because I really think they could go win a World Series this year.
Wow.
Like they are that good. They're playing good enough baseball right now. I don't know if I'll pick them to win the World Series, but I think I'd pick them to come out of the AL. John on our text line having to rub it in. And he says he's a Browns fan. One of his earlier texts, I think he's a Guardians fan too, says, how about that in all caps, historic Tigers collapse? Well, guess what? If we send you home this week, all's well that ends well.
Yep.
The Guardians can take the AL Central if the Tigers can beat Cleveland this week in 3 games. So game 1 over there starting in just about 30 minutes. I'm getting nervous. We got the AL Cy Young winner on the mound, but they're showing Gavin Williams on the TV right now. That is one of the more underrated pitchers in the league. He got off to a slow start this year, but he's pitched against the Tigers twice in the last 2 weeks, and some of his stuff is just ridiculous.
Yeah. The fact that he has 173 strikeouts on the season is pretty darn good. I mean, it's being a serviceable pitcher for the Guardians that, like you said, have this weird voodoo magic. I mean, hey.
They've made a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is. The game last week where they scored 3 runs without hitting the ball out of the infield, there's some sort of evil in Cleveland that allows them to keep winning games. I believe they finished the year with a negative run differential and still made the playoffs.
Seriously.
It was close. They were at like -3 a week ago. Let me see. 3337 is not happy with our baseball talk. He says, hopefully we don't get a baseball team around here because I couldn't stand talking about baseball every day.
Oh, man.
See, and
I'd fall in love with that.
That's why we don't talk about baseball a lot, is because clearly there isn't a local interest for a lot of people because there isn't a major league team around here. Yeah, Cleveland finished with a -6 run differential.
Holy cow.
The next closest playoff team in the AL was the Tigers at +67. So anyway, I love talking about baseball and we bring it up from time to time, but I figured today
it's a loaded slate.
Would we rather 30 more minutes of speculating of when Brian Callahan could get fired or talk about a major sports postseason getting going in 15 minutes?
Yes.
So we made our decision. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I teased it a little bit, but let's make some World Series picks on the other side. Who's going from each league? Who is lifting the trophy coming up at the end of the month? We'll get into it next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly wrapping up the show after this here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, wrapping up the show. Chase and Big Joe are coming up at the top of the hour. And again, don't forget, Will Muschamp, former Florida, South Carolina coach, going to join the program coming up at 12:15. Excited for that. We are wrapping up the show today, previewing the MLB postseason because it does start in about 20 minutes. My Tigers taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We got 3 other games today. Game 1 of these wild card series, Padres, Cubs, Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, Reds throughout the rest of the evening. But it's time to make some picks here. Nick Frazier, who do you have coming out of the National League?
National League is tough. Phillies look good, but I'm going to go with the Dodgers.
You're going to go with the Dodgers? I hate it. I don't want to pick the Dodgers. Like, that's I want to see anybody but the Dodgers in there.
Yeah.
I would love like a Mariners Brewers World Series. That's just it's so fun.
Yeah.
And like, I understand those aren't the biggest markets, but I would be way more invested in a Mariners Brewers World Series. As you can tell, I've given up on my Tigers making it there, than I would be a Yankees Dodgers or Red Sox Dodgers or something like that. Parker, I'm springing this on you, but who do you have coming out of the NL? Do you have your Cubbies making a run?
Here's the thing. Everybody's picking the Dodgers, and I'm not going to be like everybody else. There are a lot of people hating on the city of Chicago, including our very own Nick Frazier, which is a dang shame if you ask me.
I'm a Cardinals fan,
There's one team that is going to make a run, and that is the team that has Pete Crow Armstrong and Shota Imanaga on the mound. And you're going to be hearing this after the 2025 Cubs win the World Series.
So you're not just picking them to win the NL. You're picking them to win the World Series.
Whole thing.
All right.
I had to take my headphones off. It was
Yeah,
just too
Nick
loud.
Frazier doesn't want to listen to this.
I don't want to listen to it. I don't have to give my rendition of Go Cubs Go. Oh, it's still going. No, I'm not on the Cubs bandwagon. They got a lot of good players, don't get me wrong. If Ohtani wasn't a baseball player, Pete Crow Armstrong would be the NL MVP.
And he fell off down the stretch.
Yeah, but still, maybe he's a rookie.
At the All-Star break, for sure, he was in that conversation.
Yeah, they have the intangibles to be a good team, but as of right now, I can't lean that way. I'd have to go Dodgers. If I had to go an NLCS matchup, I'd say Dodgers Brewers.
Yeah, I'll go Dodgers Brewers in the NLCS. I'm not sure I believe I think the Brewers with home field advantage can beat the Cubs with the Padres. I'll go Dodgers Brewers. I think Dodgers in 6. Sadly, in that series, I'm going to go LA back to the World Series. It's just, I have the Chiefs syndrome here where it's like, I'm going to feel like an idiot picking anybody but the Dodgers because the Dodgers are probably going to go to the World Series.
I'll be bold. I'll go Dodgers in 5.
Okay. In the AL, who do you got? We got the 2 buys went to the Blue Jays and Mariners. Blue Jays have home field advantage throughout the American League playoffs. Then you've got Yankees, Red Sox, Tigers, Guardians in the wild card rounds. Who you got?
I like the wild card round primarily because we have the rivalry with, Boston and New York, but I like Detroit getting it done. I'm not just saying it because you're sitting across from me. I like Detroit getting it done in the first round. That second round DS will be a little matchup. Yankees and Red Sox. To me, Red Sox are one of the hottest teams in baseball coming into the playoffs. I get because of the whole Devers trade, but they're hitting the ball so well. They're getting base runners. They're scoring runs. I'm still picking the Yankees. I want to pick the Red Sox, but I'm picking the Yankees.
Yeah, I'm going to go Yankees, win that series. I'm going to pick my Tigers to beat the Guardians.
There you go.
Mostly just wishful thinking.
A little confidence in there when you say it. Come on.
But
man.
I'm going to say the Blue Jays beat the Yankees in the DS. I like the Blue Jays. And I think it's going to be Blue Jays Mariners in the ALCS. I'm going to go Mariners in 7 in that series. I think Seattle goes to the World Series.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your World Series matchup is Dodgers
Mariners, West Coast. Going to be some late first pitches.
I mean, I have a rematch. I have Dodgers Yankees, and that might just be chalk. People are like, "Oh, you're not picking well." I will be picking Dodgers Yankees.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
this
right.
year it's the Dodgers that's going to win once again. So back to back.
You got Dodgers going back to back.
Yeah.
I'll go Mariners.
Okay.
I'm going to say, I said it last segment that I don't know if I could see them winning it all, but you know what? Just to be different, I'm going to go Dodgers fall to the Mariners in 7.
Now, I have a question for you when it comes to MVP races. Obviously, the AL MVP race is pretty tight with, Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge. Now that the season's over with, the voting comes into play with all the riders. Do you think playoff implications have anything to do with this? Like some riders, they kind of no.
I think they have to put their votes in already.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'm just saying in general, what off of perception for you, would you?
I don't know. It's that race is about as tight as you can possibly get. I think Judge is favored slightly. And if I'm looking analytically at it, who deserves it just based on their performance this year, I think it's Aaron Judge.
Absolutely.
Aaron Judge, he leads Cal Raleigh in every major offensive statistical category other than home runs and RBIs. Batting average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, everything, WAR, all that kind of stuff. But I also think maybe you get into the LeBron James category in the NBA of LeBron could have won 6 straight MVPs, but they started making it a higher expectation of all right, we know you're good. Do something historic to win an MVP this year.
Right.
I think Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, if it's a tie goes to Cal Raleigh for hitting 60 home runs. I would vote for Cal Raleigh.
Really?
I think my head is telling me Judge, but everything else is telling me Raleigh should win it.
Look, I get that he played more games than Judge. Judge still leads him in every statistical category known to man, and he played 9 less games. 60 home runs is a tough feat to get to, but I think if he got to 62 to tie Judge for that AL home run record, I think you could easily give it to him.
Right. That's a good point. It's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to unanimous. It's going to be a few votes that separate it, and we'll see. I think Judge is going to win it. Yeah. I do, but I would vote for Cal Raleigh. Yeah. 60 home runs as a catcher, a switch hitting catcher, it's
impressive.
It's historic, and I think that deserves to be honored. Parker, before we get out of here, you have the Cubs winning. Who do you have them beating?
I'll go with you, Jake. I'll have the Mariners making it and the Cubs taking out the Mariners in the World Series.
All right. So a couple of us on the Mariners. You're on the Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs. No love for either of the 1 seeds going to the World Series, Brewers and Blue Jays.
I just think the Blue Jays are going to choke. They always tend to choke in the playoffs.
They've been good. The pitching is what.
Yep.
I don't think they have the pitching to match up with Seattle for a 7-game series. That's where I am.
Yeah, I don't know if Scherzer has it left in him.
Right. If you're running out 41-year-old Max Scherzer in a playoff series. I loved running him out for the Tigers 10 years ago, but
it's batting practice at this point.
I mean, he's had his moments. He still shows flashes of being good, but he's nowhere close to what he was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That'll about do it for us on the show. Big thanks, Nick Frazier, for hopping on.
Thanks for having me.
Glad we could do some baseball talk there at the end. I know we got some people on the text line who love it. Wes and Hermitage, I thought this was funny. That's how you know things are super bad in Nashville. We're talking MLB for a half hour. Thanks, Titans.
Hey, Nashville SC plays tomorrow in a Cup final.
There you go.
7 o'clock, CBS.
That is in Austin.
That's correct.
There you go. Make sure you tune in for that. Follow along with Nick Frazier. I'm sure he'll have all your updates there as Nashville SC looks to take home a trophy. Tomorrow, Corey Curtis on for his weekly visit for all 3 hours from News 2. We'll talk plenty of Titans, plenty of Vanderbilt, Alabama. Corey last week was saying he's picking Vandy to beat Alabama. We'll see if he still is on that train. We'll do all of that tomorrow at 9 a.m. Chase and Big Joe coming up next. Will Muschamp at 12:15 with Chase and Big Joe. Make sure you keep it tuned right here on 102.5 The Game.